We're in Atlantic City. We're at the Borgata. We're at the old homestead. Just go. Even my son told me, send him to the lead. Come on. Oh, this was money in the bank. Rudy, you better have won this in shape. Take him on, Rudy. Let's go. Let's go. Rudy, open him up. Open him up. Big. We were in Kentucky. We were at Monmouth. Big for him. He deserves it. He fights every day. That we're here. And we did it!
Farbridge will not be denied.
Did you review the race that I sent you?
I did, and
I'm really very curious to hear your take on this race.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it plain and simple. I'm just gonna pull it up on here, so I'm not looking too crazy. But
I have my notes also.
when I was looking,
I'm
I
sure you
mean,
do.
there was one horse that really attracted me here. It was Liberty National, the legendary trainer for those on the show. I love McPeak. This is his race. He's got 2 horses in it. I'm a big fan of the name. Lucky number 7. McPeak's going to steal the race. Case closed.
No, I knew that you were going to have something to do with the jockey and trainer. I didn't know where you were going to go with it. Yeah, Horse Whisperer, Gelding Master. Let's hear
No, you're next. You're next. I got to find my report.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah. Take another rips. There's one jockey in this race that doesn't lose at Oaklawn. His name is Ricardo Santana. He wins grade 1s, grade 2s, grade 3s. He's about 30 or 40 to 1. He's riding for Dallas Stewart Circle Tap. I'm taking him sole purpose that he doesn't lose to this track. These are all young horses. They don't have many races under their belt, and that's who I'm going with.
No,
Let me know what chat PBT said.
I did this. No, yesterday because I had a full report I did on all of the horses. So I'd like to find it, and I need you to stop making fun of me because
Why?
it's not nice. I'm
What's not
asking
nice
you to
about it?
stop it.
I
I'm
slowed
asking
down.
you to stop it.
I slowed
asked
down
you,
with it.
do not make fun of me anymore.
I slowed down with it.
You got it? Do we
I'm at a
understand each
5.
other?
You wanted me at a 10.
Okay? Do we understand each other?
No, we don't.
Okay? Do we understand?
You had me at a
each other?
5. I was going to be at a 10. I'm being nice.
Okay, you stink.
I'm
Okay.
sure I stink.
Okay,
Fucking
so
stuff.
let's go through these horses. Okay, one by one. Okay, so the first horse, Reclamation, you got Ramon Vasquez on the horse. Okay, I don't even know who the trainer is. This is a Reclamation. He probably was reclaimed from someone else. This horse has 0 chance whatsoever. Gone. The Code ran the first time out. He looked like a killer. Anything is possible. Is looking for a graded stakes. Okay, hasn't had one yet this year. He's got a shot. Joel Rosario does not win this time of the year. He has 0 chance. That is not going to win on Cox's horse. All Baffert's horses can't win there. I do happen to like Jordan's pick with Kenny McPeak and Hernandez because that's a good combination. But I'm going with Soldier Diplomat, Asmussen and Jose Ortiz for the race, owned by Vinny Viola of the Florida Panthers, and I think this is the best horse in the race. I am going to throw in Jordan's McPeak. I'm going to throw in Zach Santana, and then throw a little Saez in. But I think Soldier Diplomat will be 1-2.
What are your thoughts about Joel and Baffert? Do you think the horse even runs? Because Joel, A, doesn't run for Baffert, and B, this horse used to be Pratt's horse. I don't even think
Joel's stats in the month of January and February are so bad. I love the guy, but he shouldn't ride in those months. He's in another world. I mean, I saw him and Santana at the Hard Rock. And then he runs one mount for 8,000. It's the same shit as last what we saw him do last winter. Yeah, he may get one win like he had that Tistastic last year. He's going to get his Derby horse. That's going to be his only win. So his only chance of being in the Derby is winning one of these races. But this is not the horse he's going to win with because Baffert wouldn't use him.
Well, that part I agree with. I don't even think the horse is there. I don't think Joel's even
Correct.
flying there.
He's probably scratching.
Well, he scratched it, and the horse wasn't in the other race either.
Yeah, well, you know what? They probably didn't pass the vet, or they changed the medication rules. Anything's possible with Baffert.
What'd you think about the Holy Bull last week? Your new star picker's horse ran off the track.
Well, I mean, that was insane what a day Riley Mott had. I mean, Riley Mott took this horse in the 5th race, I think it was that day, and the horse is a dirt horse and has run on the dirt great every time. Maybe once or twice, not great. He sticks him on the grass, puts Junior on him, gets to the first turn, Jordan. Junior flies off the horse, okay? He goes from the 1 path, lands in the 8 path, rolled over. He looked like someone, he was dead, or it was like a stunt man out of a movie. After he lost that race, I knew he screwed for the day. Like I knew at that point he was screwed for the
You're
day.
blaming
And
Junior.
not only did that horse get screwed up, the one that Perry liked, the horse didn't even finish, I don't think, Mutt, that race. Did you see how far back he was?
That horse was terrible.
It was terrible. It was, I think something happened. Someone did something to Mott's horses that day.
Jordan, did you watch the race or you have no idea what we're talking about? Okay, so let's back off of this for a second. I know you gave Super Bowl predictions last week, but I know, a week changes things sometimes. I know Dad bought 12 jerseys ready for the trip. Did anything change from you?
I mean,
And what are the Sharps like?
the Sharps need New England to cover. Need, not want, need. The spread on Seattle has gone from 4.5, 5.5, back to 4.5. There's some books that even have it at 6. So, I mean, all the money's on Seattle. The total of the game has gone under. They think it's going to be a low scoring game. But you know what? I read a good stat that 10 out of the 11 last Super Bowl winners are wearing white in the Super Bowl, and New England's wearing white this Sunday. So
I've never heard that stat. That's a good stat.
I love New England. It's also for Michael, who's going to be a member of this family, who is a member of this family. Michael's a big Patriots fan, and his birthday is today. So happy birthday, Mike Lee. And I'm going to ride the Lightning with New England, no doubt.
That's interesting. Dad, what Sharps are you going with this week? Because I know you had a couple last week.
So it's funny, if you think about the New England situation right now, it's probably, besides putting the Super Bowl aside, what do you think is a bigger topic right now, today, was Belichick and Kraft being shafted, not getting into the Hall of Fame. I mean, they're making such a big deal of this to the point where, do you think we really care that they didn't get in this year? Do you think
I
that
mean, they
Well,
do.
they should have.
They do.
Who's they? Who's they?
Kraft and Belichick care.
Okay. What about the, let's say, 100 million people that watch the Super Bowl? Do you think they give a flying shit about Bob Kraft, who gets happy endings in Florida while he knows what's going on with the deflated balls? He knows what Belichick is doing, okay? And Brady is the scapegoat to use as the person that whatever they did, they had shortcuts. Each
So that's
one of
why
them
you're
had
saying they're not-
shortcuts.
That's what you're saying.
No,
That's what-
no, what I'm saying is that they're talking about these people and the Hall of Fame, whether they get in this year, next year, 10 years. Brady's going to have the same problem. He won't get in first year.
No
Yes,
world.
he will.
He'll get in first.
No way,
second.
no chance.
Because of the
No
balls.
chance.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you one better. Because if it does happen to Brady, it will become a bigger deal. But it won't. There's no
It
world.
can't,
it doesn't.
because
But you're saying because of the
they're
ball?
using two things. They're using the Deflate Gate, and there's something else that they were involved with, stealing the signs. What was the other thing?
Okay, yeah, but that wasn't real.
That's what they're saying about Belichick and Kraft. Kraft has an extra because he was going for happy endings at the massage place in Florida
So you're telling me the happy endings are the reason that Bob Kraft isn't in the Hall of Fame?
this year. He didn't make remember, this was the first year cut. They voted. They
Okay,
just didn't vote
fine.
them in. Brady wasn't on
Fine.
the ballot.
Do you think they still make it?
Absolutely.
Not this year.
No, we know not this year. I'm talking about
How are
next
they going to
year.
make it this year? They already picked it.
You're not. Listen, theory. I'm talking about next year.
Next year,
Do you
yes,
think they
for
make it
sure.
eventually? Do they eventually make it? Jordy's
Yes,
He's
for
digging.
sure.
He's digging deep today.
I'll tell you one thing really quick back to football.
Yeah.
Because the Kraft didn't get the cut, the Patriots are going to play their hearts out Sunday. I'm just telling you. They are going to play their hearts out for that man on Sunday to prove that he deserves it next year.
How is he eligible for the Hall of Fame even though he still owns the team?
No clue how that works. I really don't. I just know that New England is definitely going to have a chip on their shoulder on going into Sunday with that happening and play their fucking balls off. They will.
Dad,
And what do you think, Roger? Why do you think Roger Goodell is telling the referees to make sure?
Make sure there's enough time for Bad Bunny to perform. I like Bad Bunny. That's what he's telling the
And the
referee.
Sharps.
And you don't think he's telling them, we don't want New England to win?
Do you think he said that after Deflategate and they still won anyway?
No, I think what has gone on in the last week, it's just like, okay, everybody's against them. And I think that the referees are going to put the icing on the cake, and then it's going to turn into everybody's against the Patriots. Now, remember, who the game's being announced on what channel? 4? NBC?
No, CBS. It's normally CBS.
No, I think NBC got the contract this year.
Right.
What channel is the game? Whatever the channel, I don't think Brady's announcing the Super Bowl.
No.
I'm going to tell you where it is.
I think it's, what's his name? Al Michaels and the other guy, Chris Collinsworth.
You're right. NBC.
So it's Collinsworth and Al Michaels. Do you
Yeah,
believe in miracles?
Here's the scoop, literally. Show you're listening to the Horse Whisperer podcast and get a free scoop of ice cream or a beverage on us. Hildebrandt's After Dark, where good times and great stories meet.
You know, are in their late 20s now trying to do it, you know? Not like they're not 18 years old in college and breaking in back doors of, you know, to win money each week, selling their books, breaking back in, making money, not having to go to school. You know,
Okay.
this is
Now
a
it's
different
going,
game
Jordan,
now.
see,
They're
now
trying
it's
to
going.
be
It's
sharp
good.
people at the game.
We needed to see. We needed it. It only took 38
Okay,
minutes.
all right.
Jordan, it only took him 38 minutes to wake up. I'm happy we got him waking up. So let's talk about what you were just talking about. Come on, let's go.
You asked at the Sharps.
No, I'm asking about what you were just talking about now. We're off the Sharps.
Well, ask you know what, when I speak, you don't just, you got to ask me a question. You just don't sit there like a dope staring at the TV thing. Ask the question.
Oh, okay, so
Ask me a question.
So since it took you 39 minutes to finally start talking about anything that people want to listen to, I guess we'll start with me to make this a lot easier for you. Please explain what you were trying to refer to with.
So I know this kid, and I don't need to say his name. It's not important to use names. I'm not going to use names because it's not nice to use names, and our viewers don't need to know who these people are. He went to college. I don't know how he got into college, but he got to college, and he figured out a way in 4 years never to go to class. He had the whole school working for him. He was one of the top guys in the fraternity. I think there was something with, but the creativity that this guy had was pretty similar to my creativity. So I think he then sold the guy didn't change the password, and he broke in to the computer, and he was doing it in such a way where he couldn't get caught by the person that they sold it to. But then he got caught. When he got caught, phone call was made to the everything ended. But after it ended, it restarted again because that person sold the and the code was still working. So this kid went to school for 4 years this way. He never had to go to class. He had buzzers. People went to class for him. He had fake IDs made for him to take it. To me, this kid pulled off the impossible. Thank God his family doesn't know about it.
There's a major player in this story that's being forgotten about. Wait, I gotta change the words for a second. The only reason that this use a real name here is because of that was the only reason. This person was so scared for his life. It's a fact. I think he was going to call the FBI. The only way that the main person was able to do this was because of him, because he worked for the guy getting shafted. So there was a middle guy. There was the guy taking the money. There was the one in the middle. Then there was the guy getting shafted. This person was in the middle.
Jordan, do you think you could have gone to Binghamton for 4 years without going to class?
Probably, but I triple majored, so I probably would have to cut down on a lot of my stuff
So what would your grade point average be?
if I had someone.
Like you would have just got by? I'm saying you would have just got by.
If I had someone.
If you didn't want to go to class and you want to sit in your room with your fraternity brothers like you do now every Friday and Saturday night at 30 years old, what would you have done back then? You would have just sat home, hung out with your friends.
Yeah,
right?
I would have sat home, watched General Hospital, cried to my wife about how my sons are mean to me, and that's would have been it. Yeah, that's it.
Man, you went to college for 4 years for $240,000, $300,000.
Yes.
How many classes
Correct.
did you attend?
Maybe 2.
That's a good question.
In 4 years?
Yes.
You walked into the classroom twice in 4 years.
No, for 2 classes. For 2 credits.
Oh, for 2 classes.
Yeah, 2 credits, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. How did you take all the exams?
I didn't did.
Who's
Hypothetically.
I'll beat names. As a 4.0 GPA, very, very smart kid. He happened to look like me, and I gave him my idea. He took the test. He'd study it.
And how much did he get paid for each test?
A lot. Dylan, I would say in the 4 years of college, because he also used to clean he used to do many other things for me. He definitely made.
I have a question. It's a little bit related, but if you could bring back one clipped friend of yours into the rotation, who would it be and why?
It would be Jack, but it's because of the wife.
No, I'm just saying you would bring Jack back if you could.
Jack can come back. He'll be invited to the wedding.
Yeah, wow.
He'll be invited.
When was the last time you saw him?
We golfed right the November before COVID.
Oh, 5-6 years ago. Jeez.
Listen, and the wife or the girlfriend at the time called him 12 times.
So it was
I think it's quite
I remember
amazing
Jack
that
used to go with. Like, he was involved. He was in.
now you're off. Right?
What do you mean? If we're going to do what's bad? I listen. Me, Dad, and Jack. What's the fact?
I don't know what you can use in the past 20 minutes.
Fact. What?
There's no more anything in the past 20, 30 minutes.
Here's the scoop, literally. Show you're listening to the Horse Whisperer podcast and get a free scoop of ice cream or a beverage on us. Hildebrands After Dark, where good times and great stories meet.
welcome to the show. One of the reasons we wanted to bring you on there is, we're looking forward as we build our podcasts. We've watched many of your podcasts. A lot of the, podcasts out there, they do it once a week. It seems like you do it 3 days a week, and the energy level that you have is amazing. But going back to the TV, why do we only see you 5 times a year on TV?
Well, the thing is that I'm probably on TV about 305 times a year, but if I keep running, then people can only see me so many times in whichever country I happen to be in. So I think that's probably good. If people really don't want to see you, they can't see too much of you. So it's probably worked out to be quite a good tactic, though it wasn't really deliberate.
Well, it's one of the only sports, horse racing, that is not on weekly on TV or monthly on TV. It's the only sport that's on 5 times a year on NBC. Only sport. Basketball's on weekly, football's on weekly. So why is it not horse racing on TV every weekend on Channel 4?
It is on every weekend in the UK and in pretty much in Australia as well. ITV cover horse racing every weekend in England, and before them Channel 4, and before that Channel 4 and the BBC. And in Australia, Channel 7 carry racing, if not every weekend, then at least the vast majority of weekends free to air. Yeah, I guess racing's proximity to the national psyche in the US has just dipped a little below where you'd like it to be, even allowing for, the realism that, the big sports are always going to be a bit bigger. You'd still like to think there was a place for a more regular presence on national television. I know, having spoken to some of my bosses at NBC when I was at the Pegasus last weekend, that they are absolutely committed to the Derby through 32, the Breeders' Cup through 30, and of course that brings with it some Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races, the Pegasus, the Preakness, Royal Ascot signed for another 2 years. So there is a commitment there. And obviously Fox have got the series of races that they do on their family of stations, but relatively rarely on the main Fox channel. So it is more of a struggle to get a look in, but the sport has to build a product that's attractive enough for the broadcasters to want to get stuck into, and we've got to broadcast it well enough for the people to watch. And if the ratings go up, then fingers crossed, we can persuade our bosses that we're a worthwhile pursuit. Incidentally, the TV ratings for the Pegasus were very good. They were, I think, well over 1.1 million, which is not bad at all for that slot.
Well,
TV ratings for the last Breeders' Cup weren't too bad. The TV ratings for the last 2 Derbies have been excellent.
You're talking about, TV, and I watch a lot of TV, movies, shows, and it is frustrating as a fan not having that NBC show on more, because it's an excellent show. People listen to it. It has the right people to talk about horse racing in a positive way. And whoever produces that show, I've never seen a bad one. You know, I've
What?
never seen a bad show from NBC, and it frustrates me that we can't figure out a way to get more of NBC within horse racing because it's a station that people watch.
And it has such a strong sports brand. Who was it who somebody put on X a couple of days ago when they were talking about, there was a big article about Tarico doing the Olympic opening ceremony and coming back for the Super Bowl, and they were saying that really NBC just makes sporting events feel important. They give it a standing and a gravitas that otherwise it might not have. Now, clearly, I'm biased because I've worked with them and for them since 2012. But obviously, I've got context because I work for all sorts of other people all around the world, and you certainly don't get imbued with that same sense of this is a big deal when you're not working for them. And I think there's something quite special about that. I think it comes from a long held heritage of taking sport seriously, not taking yourself too seriously, but taking sport seriously and taking the viewers seriously as well, and realizing this is people's real passion. They're devoting a big portion of their leisure time to this, and you want to make it as thorough and as full of storytelling and authenticity as you possibly can. So I've always felt that when that title music rolls, that you have to give of your best, and I think that rubs off on everybody on the whole team, whatever job they happen to be doing. You mentioned the production team. So the producer now, the senior producer of NBC horse racing is Lindsay Shanzer. She became the first woman to produce a Kentucky Derby and slid into that seat completely seamlessly, but has added her own mark to it. No doubt one of the most naturally gifted producers that I've worked with, and really sets the tone from the top. And we're all very lucky to be a part of this show.
The show's great. I wish it would be on TV more, only because, I'm the type of person that watches every horse racing podcast, TV show, and I look forward to it when they're on. You have that guy that is probably just as good as the guy from CNN, Zach, right? The guy that does the wall. He does it with the horses.
Wall, yeah, when he does the wall on the big days,
Yeah, on the big
Steve
days.
Steve Kornacki,
Yeah, Steve Kornacki.
the greatest. Yeah,
He should be on CNN when they do the.
he does all the NBC election coverage. That's his day, that job. We're just lucky to borrow him when we're allowed to. But at the last, I think but one presidential election, he just became a huge star and sort of a bit of a heartthrob as well for everybody. I think that was the election that was around COVID, and his star has been in the ascendant ever since. But he's a tremendous man to work with. Has a an incredibly quick brain, and we're lucky to be able to tap into it from
That's
time
awesome.
to time.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. So you have your podcasts. You do
Yeah.
2 or 3 a week.
Well,
And
I wish I only did 2 or 3 a week. I do one every weekday. So it's 5 a week and then a digest at the weekend. So we're actually pumping out 6 of those. 6 of things a week.
wow. And you enjoy doing it?
I love doing it. Listen, I slightly made a rod for my own back because, like all these things, like you guys know because you started a podcast, part of the trick is to last and just to carry on doing it and to get going and then to last. It had been talked about for a while. And then during the pandemic, I started talking about it a bit more, probably with a combined feeling of being slightly bored because I didn't have enough to do, and also realizing that I needed to keep the wolf from the door. So my wife eventually said, get on and just do it. So one day I did it and I called it, the Nick Luck Daily Podcast. Well, then what are you supposed to do? You got to do one the next day, haven't you? And the next day and the day after that. And then it becomes self-perpetuating. And unless you give up, you've completely committed. So you have become a servant to this thing. But I'm very happy to be a servant to it. And it's been a great experience. And indirectly, it's probably benefited me as well because I think it's taken me to even more places in the world and has broadened my horizons even more than I imagined. So even though it is now referred to by in sort of all sorts of unmentionable terms by my poor wife because it's sort of taken over a large portion of my life, I'm very grateful for it.
That's awesome. Because after the other day, because I saw Mike Rapoli on X, and then I saw he went on to your show. I listened to that show, and then after listening to that, I ended up listening to about 40 of them. And
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
It was awesome. But, what made you call Mike Rapoli that day to get him on the show?
Well, he'd been pretty vociferous. He'd done an interview in the TDN, sort of outlining why he was issuing a lawsuit against all these various and sundry institutions and entities in US horse racing. And I couldn't get to the bottom of exactly how that would manifest itself, what it meant, and what he was trying to get out of it. So I've got a good relationship with Mike, and certainly a good enough relationship that I can call him and ask him. And if he says no, he says no. And more often than not, he says, yes, I'll come and talk about it. But also, the one thing you know about him is that he doesn't mind being challenged. You can challenge him with a very free hand, and he's going to be up to answering those questions, and isn't going to mind what you ask him, even if those questions um, are bordering on impertinent. I think the listeners want to be enlightened somewhat, and I thought, well, there's scope here to take this story forward a little bit, and I think probably in part that's what's prompted a robust response from the Jockey Club, because I think they think, right, well, now we've actually got to come out and defend ourselves a little bit.
You know what? I follow him. He has a lot of money. Think that having him in the game, there's good parts and there's bad parts about having him in the game. This is the sport of kings. It's been called the sport of kings for a very, very long time. It's not the sport from Mike from Queens. It's the sport of kings. And I know one thing, the state of Kentucky has enough money to help this game. The Godolphins have enough money to help this game. They don't need Mike Rapoli's money. They don't need it, but they want to try to fix some things into the game. And little by little, they have. And whatever fraternities are out there or clubs that are out there, who cares? It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, nobody's suing anybody. There is no lawsuit being filed. The reason why the Jockey Club had to react is they used the word lawsuit. When you use that word lawsuit, you got to speak. And they spoke their mind. They know Mike's not going to sue anybody. That's not the way to handle this situation. I mean, Nick, do you really think the state of Kentucky would ever let horse racing go out of business?
No, listen, there's many, many great things about the institutions of American horse racing, but I think clearly what he's trying to achieve is the look under the bonnet, isn't it? It's a closer look under the bonnet of these institutions to see whether they are acting sufficiently independently of one another, and that there aren't multiple conflicts of interest that are stifling the progress of the sport. And I said on the podcast last week, I got to thinking, well, is the proximity of a small group of senior people to one another, all talking to each other about the same thing every day, is that tight network what keeps an aging and ailing sport hanging together, or is it actually so tight that it stifles the sport's progress? And I suppose that's at the crux of the question, isn't it? It's like, well, hang on a minute, we're the group of people who have got the sport's best interests at heart, and we're the people that can best marshal the sport through the next few years, or actually do they need to think outside that tight circle in order to enable the sport to thrive and grow? And I suppose that's the central philosophical difference between someone who is seeking to disrupt how things are and people who are seeking to preserve how things are. I think everybody's after the same goal, aren't they? But it's just a question of how you achieve it.
Well, if he did this at St. John's University, what would happen?
Well, very good question.
Tell me, what would he do? Would he sue St. John's? Would he sue the players?
I think he is someone who is always going to rail against the establishment. I think it's in his DNA. He believes that conservatism with a small c is counter to progress, or counter to expansion or growth. And I think that's what he'll always espouse. And there's room for bigger voices in the game. There's room for loud, sometimes aggressive, occasionally obnoxious voices in the sport. The sport's got to be broad-shouldered enough and big enough to accept that, and to hear what people are saying, particularly if they've been successful in other fields.
Well, the last part of my question is that one of the things that I know and we created in the last year is to put the jockeys to look like the same way when you go to a football game. At the end of the game, you don't see them looking for Jerry Jones to go interview. They want to go talk to the players after the game. Yeah, they'll interview the coach, but in horse racing, the jockeys, they're not the number one person out there. I mean, I told Mike, I said, give each jockey $1 million instead of paying the lawyer and tell them not to show up. Each one of them won't show up. Okay. There'll be no racing. And then you can go head to head. Lawsuits don't help. You got to fight fire with fire. And
Well, that one of the reasons why the jockeys are reluctant sometimes. I don't think this applies quite so much in America. In my experience, if you ask a jockey for something, then you'll get it, and they're quite happy to talk most of the time. But I think I accept your point, and one of the reasons why in the UK and Ireland sometimes the jockeys aren't quite so willing to talk is because they don't have complete autonomy over what's at hand. They're always answerable to the trainer, the owner, whoever, before they're answerable to the sport as a whole. Now, I don't particularly like that because it means that it's very difficult for us to convey the sport most effectively to the viewer. And I think a lot of jockeys are getting better, but there are still those, there are still those feudal vestiges in the sport. There's still that hierarchical sense that the owners here, the trainers here, and the jockeys somewhere down here. And I think over time we've attempted to push the jockeys forward and to make them more the stars of the show. But I think that's a legacy thing, really. It's a legacy of the times when jockeys were simply, paid hands to sit on top of these horses, and they weren't terribly important in the grand scheme of things.
you know what? You're right in that sense. And one of the things in the beginning of the show was you couldn't understand them. The language barrier wasn't great.
I've always rejected that slightly. I think we just got to work harder and try harder.
Well,
in
that's
that
what
regard.
that's
I don't think it's.
we worked harder on it. And the best way to get these guys to talk, last week we had Manny Franco on last week. And Zach said to me, he has never seen Manny so relaxed and outspoken. Why? We brought a female on the show that he knew from, that announced that he'd see. And all of a sudden he got all relaxed. And all of a sudden he just started rolling and he was relaxed. And one of the things that these jockeys, they love to talk. I just wish in the future we could make more for them, because they're the game, and talking about suing and this and that. The only people that are really going to get hurt are the ones that don't have money now. If you put the sport out of business, you close down the jockey club and all these other places, you're only hurting the players. You're only hurting the players. But let me kick you off to Zach.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Shifting gears a little bit. So I know you cover American racing and European racing. Why is it, in your opinion, I know it may seem like an easy answer. So when the Europeans come to America, they always kick ass. But when the Americans go to Europe, they stink. Why do you think that's the case most of the time?
Well, you've got to remember now that the Europeans are only coming to America on European terms, essentially. So Europeans, or generally speaking, only ever run in turf races now. It's very rare that a European will run in dirt races, even though, ironically enough, the European record on dirt in those first few Breeders' Cups was actually quite good relative to the portion of horses that actually were running. There were Sheikh Albadu won the sprint, and the multiple horses finished placed in the classic, like Saki and Giant's Causeway, and Swain and Arkong won it, of course, and Wilco won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in 2004. So it was all. It's very possible. It hardly ever gets done now. The odd Aidan O'Brien runner in a classic, but hardly ever. So really, European turf horses are essentially taking on American horses on European terms. Not only that, you're finding that, generally speaking, horses of Group 1 or Group 1.5 at least caliber are tackling the valuable races in New York in the summer. Charlie Appleby, over the last 3 or 4 years, he's really attacked it because he's got so many horses. He's got too many horses that are sitting just below the very top class in Europe. There's no. What's the point in him running those in a Group 2 or a Group 3 for 70 or 80 grand in England or Ireland? He may as well run for $500,000 in Saratoga, and he's got the infrastructure to be able to do it. So I think that's one of the reasons. Horses come to Royal Ascot, generally speaking, from the US, have done very well. But even since Wesley's dropped off a little bit over the last couple of years, because his 2-year-olds don't have the advantage that they used to have, there are still American horses running respectably. George Weber and Jose D'Angelo have had horses run very well at Royal Ascot. And so I actually think, we're taking very good horses into a sort of tepid battle, and you're bringing okay turf horses into white hot battle. So it's it's not really like for like.
That makes sense. Are you familiar with Carl Spackler?
I am familiar with Carl Spackler. He's a horse I like very much, and I hope that he makes a decent stallion. I think he probably could do. I think if he'd been managed slightly better after he'd left Chad Brown, I think he could have actually made a bit of an impact in the UK.
Do you watch as a spectator, or do you enjoy handicapping on the side as well?
Oh, both, yeah. Yeah,
Both.
both very much, yeah.
So how do you manage, like, let's say you're doing, we'll call it Holy Bull Day or Pegasus Day. How do you manage, like, commentating and then also, like, handicapping and putting your bets on the side?
I'm not handicapping these races like, say, Bernier would handicap these races, and I'm not having a bet in every race. But if I do have a bet, I mean, obviously, I'll bet pretty much every Breeders' Cup race. I'll bet the Derby. I'll bet the other Triple Crown races. I had one bet at Gulfstream at the weekend, and that was actually in race 1 before we came on the air. Finished second, the Canadian horse of Kevin Attard's that ran in the Madaket colours. Can't remember the name of the horse. Anyway, I can divorce my punting from my broadcasting, and I can still give one a good route, and then make sure that I can just about do the job.
Awesome. All right, Dad, take it away.
Just 12-second question. Who was you were at the Derby this year?
Yeah,
Who was the sponsor for the Derby for Alvarado?
for Alvarado.
Who was his sponsor? You know, they wear the stuff on the pants.
But I don't remember. You're going to tell me it was you.
Hildebrand's ice cream.
There we go.
Did you know we won all 3 legs? Umberto wore him in the Preakness, and Junior wore him in Belmont.
I didn't know that.
We have the same pants were worn in all 3. Same ones.
Wow.
We won the Triple Crown of branding.
It's a good job I didn't say somebody else, wasn't it?
Well, you can only have said Jeff Ruby's.
Yeah, that's true.
Could have. He's the only other one.
And now he's shut down in Lexington anyway. So
Right. So it was that day when we won. It changed the whole business.
So I went to
business.
This is great, and this is the power of horse racing and the power of being an enterprising sponsor. And I think you probably got quite good bang for your buck as well by the end of it.
Well, you know what? I invested in these guys and put them on a different pedestal than anyone else. A lot of the jockeys, they need small amounts to get through. They'll wear a hat. They'll do this. But I'm telling you, I knew Junior Alvarado was going to win when we had him on the podcast the week before. And the horse,
he was very confident.
He was extremely confident.
Very confident.
What I offer these guys, it's like, okay, it's probably just as much as whatever their purse was. But
Bill Mott's the only trainer who'd basically give a horse a float round in the Florida Derby, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But we're going to send you some ice cream when you're in the United States. And now you're going to have to rewatch how much coverage we got with Hildebrands from
That's
that
brilliant.
day.
The only person jammier than you with the sponsorship is my brother, who runs a shipping company, right? So he runs a company that ships the horses to Breeders' Cup and various other places in the world, air freight. And he had a friend, a jumps jockey, who he knew, who'd given up. He'd retired. And then 2 years later, he made a comeback. And he said, I'm looking for kind of a sponsor. And he said, just want my kit paid for, really, just my breeches and, bit of this on the silks and a whip and a kit bag and that. I don't really need much. He said, but you can put your branding all over me. So this is like a journeyman jockey. He's come back after a 2-year break. He's not going to ride any winners. So my brother's like, yeah, fine. Slipped him a couple of grand. And he's there in his, in his thing and his down his breeches and all over his back and all over his head. Well, the next thing, I'm hosting the coverage of the Grand National for Channel 4. And, this is our biggest, most watched sporting event of the year in the UK. And there's this guy standing in front of me having won the Grand National with my brother's logo all over there like this for however many 10, 12 million viewers. And I thought, you are one jammy whatever, because that is a masterstroke. And for good measure, he won it again the following year.
My God.
That's like you sponsoring some guy who's come out of retirement and he wins the next 2 Kentucky Derby. Every day's a deal. Every day's a new deal.
You got it, pal.
Thanks, Nick. We appreciate it.
It's been a treat.